Disappear for a while, but now I am back again, introducing a new style, them call the Ling Bang. I am a musical zen, violating the charts again. Disappear for a while, but now I am back again, introducing a new style, them call the Ling Bang. I am a musical zen, violating the charts again. Ling Bang, no matter if you're 50 or 10, Ling Bang. Big bully in a pen, Ling Bang. Rooster or hen, this one, yeah. Creme de la creme, Ling Bang. No matter if you're 50 or 10, Ling Bang. Big bully in a pen, Ling Bang. Rooster or hen, this one, yeah. Creme de la creme. First, make we see how far your back bend. If you don't know how, get less if I can rent. Turn your body round like a smoothie or the blend. New dance trend. Style we no borrow, style we no lend. For sure, we no the beg no friend. From in the thing from way back when for the elders and the children. Can't do the sticky leg unless you do it like charge. Back it up in the garage. Make them know we squad living large. Hold a salute every sarge. Disappear for a while, but now I am back again, introducing a new style, them call the Ling.
Okay. Greetings in the name of God, most high and gracious. I am G. Michael Reid. We're here as per, well, for weekly thing, but now we're moving to Thursday. That Wednesday spot has gotten too busy. And I know in particular, Jules Vasquez has an uncut on Wednesdays also. And it's not so much we want to catch him, we want him to be able to catch us and see how our show is conducted. So we join again this evening by our guest that we had the other day, and it was too short then. The interview certainly wasn't finished. Mr. Aaron Anderson.
Good night.
Now the official in the race. Well, we have to wait for what happens next.
The convention set for October 5th in Dangriga at the Holy Ghost School. Mm-hmm. It has not yet been decided if it will be a closed convention or an open convention. I'm assuming it will be closed to UDP supporters only. But I am good either way. Is
there a number of other persons putting their names in, or
we had 5 and one decided to bow
out. Which one bowed out? You want to tell me?
Jamal Swaso.
Okay. All right. Is there any of them that you're overly concerned about?
Not really. I have to focus on me and the agenda of what I want to do, so I can't necessarily think about them. I believe that if I deliver the message that I want to deliver, I will garner the support that I need. Now,
Aaron, Dangriga are predominantly Garifuna community. Are you convinced you can win over that vote? Because I believe a few of the other persons running are Garifuna themselves, right?
Right. I do believe that I have done so much work in and around Dangriga that I am seen as just Dangrigan.
Are you known around Dangriga? You drive around Dangriga, everybody hear you and so?
All day.
So people know you. You're a really agrat Dangrigan.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Why? I'm saying to you, I wish you well, because it would be wonderful to see fresh faces, get fresh ideas. Go on, whole the whole political scene has gone. I don't know. I don't want to say totally corrupt, but certainly people have lost a lot of faith in these people who come up and get elected and go into office and then just name look back and you can't reach them, you can't call them, you can't visit them. Are we going to see a difference from Aaron Anderson?
Definitely. One of the biggest complaints about me is I am always on my phone. I try to take every phone call, every text message. I really try. And I try to respond quickly because that's just the person that I am.
But would that continue after they get elected? Because we know it happens to many before they enter that field, but once they get comfortable and in it, um, I no make them get one second term like we're seeing now, no, with this crew.
Well, to be very honest, before I decided to run, decades ago, that has been my pattern and behavior. So I don't see why it would have changed.
Yeah. Now, the UDP, um, you're running on a UDP slate. At this point, the UDP is not exactly, what would you would say, a thriving party. Um, is there a comeback for the UDP?
There is always a comeback, and that's the main reason I decided to put my name in, is because I have to believe that we can, the three R's, reunite, reignite, and reform.
Hmm.
That's my slogan.
What stage are we at now? Which one of those have been accomplished? Which what are we?
We
Uh,
have to reunite. We have
okay,
to start
that's
from.
the first step.
Yep,
All right, then you would reignite.
reignite, as
So
in
that means light that fire and
yes,
get people again believing in the United Democratic Party,
exactly.
and you would then reform
Mhm.
the whole party, the way they are.
I had to focus on my constituency, so reform the constituency by giving leadership that can ignite some hope, some inspiration, and that's the intent.
But I know you concentrate on your constituency, but you can't lose sight of the fact that as a member of a bigger, wider party, um, and now we're seeing a bunch of old faces coming back in. Would that be a part of the reform move where we would see maybe a discontinuance of these?
I have to leave that up to the electorate. Um, I have my preferences, but I also believe in democracy, and if whomsoever is, well, as you may have heard, they changed the national convention to the end of November,
Hmm.
and whoever then leads to victory for that national convention, we would rally behind. But hopefully, they would look at us, each caretaker, each division, each constituency, as an equally important voice, the central executive and the party leader at that time, because we have to we have to stick to our constitution. And I believe that we've had some people with very questionable character, and we just have to move away from that. We have to start to get upstanding people, people we could be proud of, people we could look up to, people that can go through the day and not have to worry about a scandal or anything. Like, honestly, I am tired of politics as usual, politicians as usual, and it's about time that integrity leads the way.
Do you believe that Aaron Anderson comes to the table with with none of these skeletons there that might peep their head out at some point? There's just nothing there that you have to be concerned about.
I am extremely confident in that.
You were, I believe, a supporter Shine when he was the leader, correct?
Yes.
Uh, um, how is that now? How is that playing out?
I still support Shine, and the reason I do, I have always said it. In my point of view, he is the duly elected party leader, and I look at it as a position that I support, not a person.
Uh,
Um, so once that would change, or once that becomes up for election, then I have to look at whoever is running. In this case, Shine cannot run based on our constitution. So I heard the other day Tracy on a talk show, morning show, stating that she's not sure 100% if she's going to put herself there yet. So to me, it's let's wait and see.
But somebody has to take the lead, and it seems to me that Hugo Pat is not kind of reluctant, don't you think? A jump up there, he doesn't seem to want that position at all.
That's how it seems, definitely.
Yeah. So they would have to then do Daryl Bradley.
If he would be in the Senate, he would be able to do so. I think I also heard him say that if that's what the people would want, he would be up for a run as party leader.
The senators right now are who? Uh, can recall him right off?
Not right off. I know Patrick is one. I think Sheena Pitts.
Okay. Is Perfeet in there?
No.
Perfeet has resigned again, correct?
Correct.
Do you see him coming back one more time if the party gains a little strength?
I don't know if it's dependent on strength. I think it's more dependent on structure
And unity.
and unity.
Yeah. So he would probably, and do you think he'd be welcome back in?
Um, if everyone sticks to what they're saying about everybody has a place in the UDP,
Yeah.
then yes.
See why I want mute that mic for me. You got input. You want all right because with him on the something there. Couple of things coming out, Aaron, and for the time being, there's not much we can talk about you, except that you're running on that slate. But there are issues out there now that I believe you can voice your opinion on, and which are basically what I want tie you down pan now. For instance, the 13th Amendment, we have to get to that. But we're going to talk about the motorcycle and what I heard on the news tonight, the suggestion that maybe they will ban the riders off the back of the motorcycle and even put a moratorium on the number of motorcycles out there and license being issued. How you think that will work out when in fact there's a thriving run man business that depends on motorcycles?
Off the bat, I think it's ridiculous. I was actually communicating with a radio station this morning about the same issue.
Mm-hmm.
And my opinion is we don't need to change the law. We need to enforce the laws that we have.
But how is that gonna be? Because you have laws that allow people to ride motorcycles.
Mm-hmm.
Once they have a license and they go and carry somebody on the back of it, and the situation is, and I think what they're trying to address is many times those people on the back are carrying weapons, and they're the ones that tend to pull the trigger and responsible for some of the shootings that have occurred. It's kind of tough to say enforce the laws because the laws, as it says, does not prohibit any of that from happening.
Okay, so is the problem the motorcycle or is the problem the gun law? Here's put it to you this way: if according to stats, the last year we had less than 100 murders supposedly, right? That's the official number.
Mm-hmm.
If that is true, then why take away the right of thousands of families that transport themselves on motorcycles because of 100 murders?
Is it another overreaction then, you think, on the part of those in authority?
I believe so, strongly.
Yeah. But something has to be done, Aaron. What would be, well, a recommendation from you to how we're going to address Because 100 murders is still a lot for a
It
small
is.
country like ours, you know.
Yep.
And the whole, well, the whole firearm thing, the proliferation of guns. I mean, that one problem. Let's face it. What can we do at the end of the day? Something has to be done.
The only thing, this is a tricky slope because we are taking away the rights of good, clean citizens because of a few incidences. So let's look at crime stats and how many of these crimes actually happen on the back of a motorcycle
There are quite a few lately, though.
lately.
Yeah, lately it's been an increasing trend,
Mhm.
actually. And I think that is basically what they're trying to put a stop or stem it in some way if they can. But apart from what they're recommending, I find that they are a tough situation indeed. And you talk about climbing on that slippery slope. And yes, indeed, it might get us into trouble, but something has to be done.
The the solutions I continually hear from our GOB are exactly as you described them potentially being overreactions, overreaches. We have to think about our public at large. Yes, we want to keep our public safe. Yes, we want to keep our citizens free per se.
Mhm.
Um, I just cannot see how restricting motorcycles to one rider only. What do you start do? Rent taxi?
Well, and
Drive in our taxi? Then what? What will I do with the taxi driver?
let's do move away from crime for a minute because there's another aspect of this thing that you have to look at: the number of deaths from motorcycle accidents.
Right.
My God, sometimes I one a day. I
Yeah.
mean, we're losing a lot of people on motorcycles from accidents. Whether I don't know if it's their fault or maybe they don't know to ride. I know a lot of time I drive. I'm a man that get in on my blind spot, and if I try to make a turn, he never will see me signal because it's too far behind to see the front one and too way ahead to see the back one. So
Yeah. Get
I,
it?
maybe driver education. Where is it? More.
I agree. And I see that issue that you just described way more with the run men. Um, fast, reckless,
Cutting in and out.
in and out of traffic. The blind spot thing, like I think I've mentioned this before. You know how much time I nearly knocked down people,
Hmm.
and because then it does something where just no make no sense. And then if we hit them, we have to live with that.
They make it kind of tough for the regular driver out there that you have to be extra alert.
Yeah,
We have to you're already so much that you have to look out for, no? Pedestrians on the street, somebody run out the front of you. Um, I think it's kind of like unfair, and I've always said that too often we formulate principle based upon the lowest common denominator. In other words, you have a small group of people have given a problem. You can't change the entire law of the country to accommodate them or to try to stop them from what they're doing. I think we have to look upon everybody else and how you're going to affect them also. Like the state of emergency, that affects a lot of people, everybody. You know, for the most part, we have not complained too much. I think once because usually when it comes about is after some very violent murders and crimes being committed. So I think we have to be careful that we don't allow something based upon our own overreaction, our own uh, um, quest for more safety. Let me put it that way. But Iran, the people have a right to live in
in peace.
safety and without fear, no?
And so the only thing I think that we could do, G Mike, corruption is everywhere. And people get their license or shouldn't get their license, things like that. So one thing that, and this obviously is away from the crime thing and more dealing with the accidents and whatnot.
Mm.
We do need more stringent programs in place to have someone obtain a license, especially on a motorcycle. Um, but regardless of vehicle type, because like I said, why why we have the kind of accidents we have in Belize City, where cars they flip at high speed inside of the city.
Somebody saying, heavy-handed as usual, agreeing with you, always reacting or overreacting. Get some think tank in the room and don't let them out until something reasonable comes out of the hashing out. If not, put the subject matter out to tender. That's interesting. Um, how would you do that? Maybe
Wow.
invite members of the public to give recommendations.
G Mike, what I believe in as I officially have entered this political arena, and I think it's more of a surprise to myself than anybody else because according to everyone else, they saw it coming. Um, I believe that we should have regular town halls with our community, our constituents, um, meetings to just public meetings to air your frustrations, your concerns, and we have to take those meetings seriously. And the concerns, the suggestions, recommendations that people give, if you engage a populace more and you make them feel like they are really making a difference by coming out there, giving you their time to give suggestions, concerns, and you show them that that matter to you as their elected leader, then I believe that everyone will start to take note in the community, and you could possibly see a change.
And you never know what you might hear from somebody. Might have be something that makes sense.
Right.
I But even if you don't do it as a consultation, I think that maybe, and I wonder if you would consider this. I remember as a child going with my aunt who raised me to the meetings, somewhere at Pongyard Bridge, somewhere at Battlefield Park, where the politicians would, and in particular those running for office, would stand up and address the people. I know some politicians today that if they had to stand up and make a speech, they would never get elected. But nobody has to speak anymore. Don't have to say anything. They just have to put that red or that blue on their armband, and they're in. So do you think maybe we should go back to that where the politicians are facing the people and outlining their plan?
COVID, I mean, a crazy thing because that's the year it stopped. Because even in the 2018 town board elections, city council elections, that was happening. You had your public meeting, you had to meet your people face to face, and you had to re energize every meeting. You had to engage these people, you had to deliver yourself and why you are the better candidate. And those days, I do believe, had a little bit more accountability that you had to have because you are facing people every day. Now, like you say, you could hide. So, yes, I think we should bring that practice back.
I don't know that I agree that COVID was a cutoff point there because I think that by that stopped a while ago. I don't know if in the Griga it was continuing. I'd like to have heard that, but COVID is behind us now. Shouldn't we come
We
out of
should.
there?
We should. Like I
And
said, 2018, when we were campaigning for town board, we had some massive rallies in Dangriga.
And it goes a long way in in the people hearing the politicians, and the politicians getting a feedback from the people, whether it's from a clap or a groan. No,
Mhm.
I don't think we could lose if we go back to that, Aaron.
Nope.
So maybe you could recommend it to whoever wants to listen. No,
I
so
definitely tried. The last town board election in Dangriga, we had a rally the night before, and I did get up and I gave a speech at that rally.
wonderful.
But they were, it was a smaller crowd. We had maybe 200 people. And the night before an election, you're not used to that. You're used to much more.
Yeah, kind of too late anyway at that point. No.
Yeah.
So the yeah, and you talk about COVID, and I was watching the news, and this spirit, this new spirit airline that is flying,
Hmm.
and I imagine we'll see it more often if that's the case. 85 from America to Yanobad. Uh, um, but most of the people coming up were wearing masks. Are people still? And I still see people over the place wearing masks. What that is situation is COVID still here? Is there a fear for it? The what?
I think there is a fear for it. And trust me, it is definitely still here. Um, I believe that when you look out to the US and Asia, I travel a lot, um, be it for work and other reasons. I travel a lot. I am in marketing, and my demand high, and so I meet with clients all over the place all the time. And you look at airports, and a lot of people still wear masks.
But then again, that might be an overreaction because I don't know. I
You know, one thing I have done since COVID, I still travel with my hand sanitizer.
Okay with that. I mean, you should do that anyway because you never know who touched the knob before you. And yes, I live by that too. Because at the end, not everybody is as sanitary as you would want them to be.
I
Trust me.
Queen.
Yeah, you know what I mean. So you don't want that at all. But the whole crime situation, because we see last week a gang member got killed, another big gang member. I was watching the news tonight, and there's a murder case coming up against this one, another big gang member that was killed, Tanga, if
Hmm.
you remember him. But
Hmm.
the girl is saying she is not going to testify
Right.
because she's afraid for her life and her
Right.
family. How do we get past that though? Can we maybe do it where it doesn't there doesn't have to be such a disclosure, if you will, of all the things that are going on? Maybe it's time we close the courtroom a bit. Uh,
I I think that we should. It's long overdue. The way our society is constructed, witness tampering is easy, real easy. And at some point, we have to, if we want to see prosecution and and whatnot, accountability take place for these crimes, we definitely have to protect the people that have the information a little bit more. Be it if you have a sworn written statement or something like that where they don't necessarily have to show up to court, we should be able to trust our prosecution and our investigative force to handle a sworn statement for a court.
I don't want to hear Dickie's view on this because I bet he has cringe right there. But the problem is that when the lawyers get disclosure, they then release all that information to their clients,
Mhm.
and then their clients know, well, look here, if we take care of this witness, we're safe. Um, because it's so easy for them to get off, and I don't know if we can make it a little harder for them to get off and easier for them to get convicted. Because the whole society is suffering as a result. But I think that might indeed be one of the things we have to look at, Aaron. I mean, how to better safeguard the information givers, if you will, those witnesses.
Hmm.
Whether it's give them some police protection, whether it's give them um, the benefit of secrecy, when they don't have to, they could maybe even testify virtually as opposed to being there facing that. But this is where they're demanding now that they have to face the accused. And now very it makes for a very dangerous situation because in particular if there's somebody we don't kill, they not got nothing for be concerned about in
No,
going out and killing again, especially if it means keeping them free and on the street.
exactly.
Uh,
I agree. We've done a very very bad job at witness protection and prosecution on a whole. And everybody know everybody that believes.
uh,
You know somebody will know somebody who could get to that witness for you if you have to. You know how it work.
it,
You have to
it
protect them.
it tough. Moving on, I see one the police guy that had shot that dog for the EAG
Hmm.
get off. So that means the government have to pay some money there again,
Hmm.
and
Loss of revenue at least.
well, they have to give him back his back
Yep.
pay and so on.
Yep.
So, but even from the very beginning, though, of that case, I looked at that and put myself in his shoes. What would I have done? I mean, I would say that the person wrong there would be the governor general or whoever takes care of her dog for her.
Hmm.
You know this dog, you want your dog to be vicious and biting, but you don't want it loose then running around and will bite anybody, you know? So that one, I saw that as a no brainer.
Yeah.
It should have been overturned. Um, the next one that was on news too is where somebody sued the prison for some prisoner that had died, and this is another $300,000 apparently they have to pay out
Mhm.
because when the one with the five guys or was it five that won their case,
5. Yeah.
but I don't think that money has been paid out yet. I'm sure they will appeal that, but we had discussed that where two judges looking at the same case, following the same set of laws,
Hmm.
come up with two different verdicts.
Yep.
So I don't see how we could, and I'm saying something has to be wrong here because then either these judges are thinking differently, which they ought not to be because they're legally trained, but with the same by the same not the same school as such, but the same school of thought and it's the same book of laws, book of rules that you're looking at. How do you come up with two different verdicts for the same exact case? Um,
That's why double jeopardy that thing. It should not be tried twice. You should not have to.
no, but these were two different lawsuits brought by two different groups of people,
Hmm.
um, based on the same subject matter.
Yep.
Both felt that they were detained wrongfully,
Hmm.
and both went to court. And the two learned judges now, looking at the same set of rules, set of laws that govern these situations, come up with two different verdicts. So that the way it came in the problem.
Yeah, I remember the case because we talked about this already on the show once. And that's where the human element comes in. Um, the law is up to interpretation, and the magistrate has to. They have their own thought process, even though they do have that legal training. They
Mhm.
still have that personal touch when it comes to interpretation of that law. And that's why when things hit the Supreme Court, you end up with more than um, more than two people looking, reviewing at the case, experts in the field of law, that
Mhm.
the majority will be the deciding result of that case.
And you would imagine you'll get to
What?
a fair verdict.
Right. But you will more than likely have some differences in that interpretation all the time.
Well, yeah, people look at it based with their specific biases and whatnot, and the connection to the depends on how a person is connected to a case or not. No,
Yeah.
so are you in a blue state or a red state when you are in the states?
Blue.
Blue. So you yourself, did you make a decision as to whether your support is for the Democrats or the Republicans?
I am not an American, so I try to stay out of their politics.
With looking at it as an outsider, which are the two schools of thoughts would you say has
I'm
a
pro
better
Democrat.
grip? Huh?
Pro Democrat.
Pro Democrat, no? The Republicans do have their side of the story to tell, though. There are some aspects of it because even Trump, as terrible as he is, and I am initially I had thought that Trump was the better candidate, and I don't know the better of the two evils. Let me put it that way, because I don't know even now what was going to happen if Kamala had gotten in there. Because I did not have much faith in Kamala. I thought she was just um, an echo of Biden, if you will. Robert Lamb says different interpretation of law, the human factor, conservative and liberal judges. You would hope, though, that doesn't play such a prominent role, though, because again, if you look at the law you can't. The law is not open to interpretation. It should not be open to biases, and I say should not because there's no way to guarantee against that, right? So I understand, but that is why we have laws. That's why we have courts to decide the application of these laws. You would think that first of all, and this might be the problem, we have to begin with people of integrity being assigned to these positions, and after that, we can have more confidence in what they're going to do, no? But at this point, because of the way the situation is, and it's the same way with the Republicans and Democrats in the U.S. Sometimes you hear different sides of their stories, and they're basically almost on opposite ends of the spectrum, um, and how can anyone be so wrong? And there wouldn't be the two of them wrong, but there are times when both can be wrong. So I don't know how we do about that, no. But now, America, I see, and I want to go in because this topic here is close to my heart, dear to my heart. A few countries coming out and said they will recognize the state of Palestine. Do you have an opinion on that?
I sure the heck do.
Uh,
It is about time.
I agree. I mean, the pastime.
Pastime.
Yeah.
We far too long we have allowed human atrocities to take place in the Middle East, and I do believe that the people of Palestine having their own secured borders could start to help bridge the divide that has been for decades, centuries. We cannot continue to. I mean, G Mike, when you hear the stories about the kids starving to death,
It has to touch your heart. I mean, you can't be such a cool, stone-hearted person
no,
that you just not give a damn, or you can justify that. You know what I'm saying? All right, October 7th happened. Apparently, they went in, they grabbed some hostages, and the agenda was, it seemed, to use them as a bargaining chip, to
yep,
have the many persons in Israeli jails, because we tend to not want to look at that. But there are thousands and thousands of Palestinians in Israeli jails, some young children for the simple crime of throwing a rock at a tank.
Yep.
They are quite so obviously that was it. I remember when the story broke that they were burning babies alive and raping women, and it turned out that none of that was true. There was absolutely no evidence. I was having an argument with a young lady the other day, and she was saying she saw the videos of them, and I'm saying, where are these videos? Nobody else has seen them, but they were that was a rumor. And in fact, I remember Joe Biden himself had gotten on TV and spouted that very propaganda, and it turned out later he had to back walk on that. He didn't take it back. He didn't apologize, but it was proven that it was not true. So I don't see why. Now I know you're in America. You travel to America a lot, so I guess you have to be kind of careful how you speak on that. But I mean, the facts are stubborn things. I agree. It is something that has to stop at some point. Um, but will a two-state solution solve this issue?
I think that we owe the or not we, but the world owes the Palestinian people their their rightful place. And I chose those words specifically because if we remember well, that when Israel became Israel officially, 1948,
1948. 1948.
1948, if we think about that, the United States led that selfishly because they needed some place where they could stockpile
They're
and be ready
Jews.
to. Yes,
Yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah. But also you're right. They are stockpile weapons
Mhm.
and have a force right at the Middle East at the gateway to Africa and those other countries that are rich in mineral and
Right,
that they have a lot of interest in.
exactly.
And now that we see some turnaround, some upheavals in some of these areas, they now have a launching pad that they can quickly quell this and keep a close watch on what is going on. So it is a selfish thing on their part. But don't take your eye off of the UK because the UK gonna style, and as a former British, because we in Belize are former British. I look at that and I'm saying, well, we have to also hold their feet to the fire. Because they like hide their hand and like they do not know what America did this, but they are as involved in this.
There.
They are supporting them. But this brings me to a salient point, Aaron. Where you are in Dangriga, you're closer to Guatemala than us here in Belize City. Um, and Guatemala and Israel have had close ties for a long time. I was listening this morning to a podcast of somebody that was talking about the genocide that happened in Guatemala, and that in fact it was led by the Israelis. That they're the ones who sponsored it, financed it, supported it, supplied the weapons and whatnot for it. So I'm wondering, uh, and why we have to object to what is going on there, because if they succeed, then this becomes a trend in the world where the might makes right. That because you have all the powers and all the guns and all the backitative of the big old United States, you can do whatever you want to. Um, what now? Do you have any thoughts on the current state of our Guatemalan Belizean problem, if you will, the claim and whatnot, and where we stand on it?
I lived that claim for a few years, G Mike. I had to deal with it every day going to school in Guatemala City. Um, being the son of it wasn't the ambassador at the time because it wasn't. recognized. So it was the charge of affairs, and everybody knew that you were the Belize embassy representative, and so I have a very personal um, sentiment toward that. We never see if any day. I will take this chance for to thank the diplomatic corps of Belize because they leave their homes to represent their home. And many times the people locally have no idea the stuff that we face when we represent the country in a diplomatic capacity.
In
This is so
Guatemala, did you feel hostility from the people?
every day,
That's interesting, yeah.
every day.
Because I always thought that our people lived pretty well alongside each other outside of the political and that game there, no?
G
Uh,
Mike, we had to stop using the school transportation system because they were threats of kidnapping. Um, so we had to go to school with security every day. I played basketball on my school team there, and we had to have security at the games. Things like that, what people just don't know about. Or one night, when the driver like pushed my man in at the back seat of the car and tell him keep your head down, race my mom home, radio in and say, would it come up the hill, open the gates, and if anything's still there behind, we open fire.
but was that because she was a Belizean or just because she was a
That
person?
we won't know. But
Yeah.
we, because of being in the newspaper and different things, the guerrillas definitely get to know who you are.
What's your thoughts about the ICJ and our case there? Because they're saying it might come to fruition by the end of the year. We might know by then what's going to happen. What are you, any thoughts on that?
I think it's time that it's over. I don't think we should give like the slogan was not a blade of grass. I believe in that strongly. Um,
You don't think that too stringent a position though? If you're going to try to negotiate some kind of peaceful deal, I mean, not there's a sliver of land I know that was supposedly the survey line
mhm.
from I believe it was Gracias a los Dios to another point where because of the fact that they didn't have the laser, the real the technology to get it defined properly, that there was some maybe about a mile or something that wasn't properly marketed. What if the ICG say, well, you know what, that you sit out that line, that would kind of like put that not an inch, not a blade of grass, not a drop of water to test, no? Um, and,
True.
and and don't you think then that it would be worth it for peace sake to consider maybe just letting that go?
Um, my belief and understanding is that Guatemala want access to the sea, the port. They want more of that.
That
Um,
was in the initial
right,
gripe on their part too, um, which is why there was supposed to be a cart road. Um, the funny thing is now that we have at least three roads running to Guatemala. Say one road, Tech Road,
you're right.
but you no, but you finish your thought on that. You
When I say not a blade of grass, I mean not a drop of water.
either.
Yeah, not either. I mean not a drop of water. If a mile of the border line would settle this, that's an easy compromise.
What do we do though if the ICJ then rules that you know what you might need for back off of that one, leave it because you know that they obviously don't want to anger Guatemala too much.
Hmm.
And if they get angry, we are in a position, and if we have to rely upon the US or the UK, we might be in a deeper position.
Yeah, because the U.S. Right now is allied with Guatemala for sure.
Now, I believe, though, we shouldn't have gone to the ICJ. That is Mr. Lam saying that. I think we should have. The outcome will not be accepted to Belize. I don't know that we know that. Guats want the whole south half of the country. They can want anything they want. That I don't think they're going to get it. I think what is in question, the Sapadilla Keys are in question, and that the Sarstoon
Right.
and Sarstoon Island. Um, Belize wants it because we believe that there's some minerals under there. It is rich. Guatemala might want it for the same reason.
Hmm.
Um, what if the court would say, you know what? Listen, make that one not natural reserve, nature reserve. Nobody's going to be doing any commercial drilling or logging or anything in that area there. It'll be open. Both countries can use it for recreation or whatever. No, but nothing for nothing commercial. Would that maybe appease your mind a bit and your stringent position?
I don't think so.
Well, um,
I mean,
they,
I would have to look at the ruling in its entirety. Um, it would also depend on. No, I couldn't. I couldn't. As of right now, I have to say I couldn't.
tell me, are we doing enough diplomatically, though, Iran, to try to secure peace with our neighbor there? Because this is my point. We have 18 million people over there. We have 400,000 over here. Um, it's a big market. They could buy anything we can produce, anything we can grow, anything we can build. That would be a big market for that. Um, until we settle this matter, that easy to accomplish that. Um, I'm thinking there must be some way we can work this thing out diplomatically, try to get them, listen, we're friends, we're neighbors, let's be friends. You don't see that as a possibility?
I don't. And the reason I say that is because term after term, different elected officials come in with different ideas and different thoughts. And a lot of Guatemalan talk around election time, a lot of them talk about them going after Belize because Belize is nuestra. And that's a rally point. That's a talking point.
But that is not as rabid as it used to be, is it? I mean,
I mean, not necessarily, but my point is anyone could come in and decide to break the diplomatic agreements because it's not official. There's nothing legally binding by a diplomatic agreement.
here's the thing, and here's my concern, though. Belize, as small as we are, is not as united as we ought to be.
Right.
We have groups at each other. Like I said, we have different ethnic groups: the Chinese, the Mennonites, the Garifuna, the the Mayan, and everybody seems to want their own piece of the jewel. The Mayans have been claiming their area down south, and there's talk that they might want to claim some up north also. The Garinagu are certainly laying claim to the Sand Creek area. Um, but we have the Mennonites have their own Lee section back to the Spanish lookout and Blue Creek and the areas there. How can we, and would you have a plan of pulling Belizeans together because we have to be united? Do you see a fighting spirit in our people?
I do see a fighting spirit in our people. The biggest show of that on a national level, I have to say is within the BNTU. When their rally cries come, the unity that they can show,
But
and
that
not only
unity is that unity is usually for selfish reasons, for a raise or some better conditions for them. But I
that,
have not seen them stand up for country as such.
that's my point. So if we can have BNTU stand up for their quote unquote selfish reasons, and we can find enough selfish reasons for Belize on a whole to stand up for Belize, maybe we could use the same model as the BNTU and other unions have, and incorporate a national. I always say that I think that we lack, and not when I say we, I don't mean everybody at all, but we lack enough civic pride to do some of the basic things that we ought to be doing to ensure longevity and growth within our individual societies, communities, and then districts, and then nationally. Um, I think we need a nationwide overhaul of our educational system. And I know because I have spoken to teachers, high level teachers, vice principals, principals about the same topic as I tried to put my plan of action together. And we we do have a nationwide civics um, program in primary schools, but is it strong enough? Is it being taught and delivered properly everywhere? And we have to look at things like that. How do we move and unite an entire people? And I believe that it is one UNCAP, for example. I believe that a majority of our citizenry is fed up with wanton corruption from elected officials. And we don't have any checks and balances because you have a Senate that is appointed. So the ruling party will always be able to rule and do what they must to be allowed to get away with what they want. I think that UNCAC is one of the ways to fixing a lot of our civics issue in the country. People could then start to believe in a Belize again. Right now, everybody tired of politicians.
You know, I've written about this, and you mentioned the Senate. I've written about this at length. I believe it's time for a unicameral system. We don't. I think the Senate is a waste of time. They're a rubber stamp. Even when they were bringing the 13th Amendment, what they do, and this was your party era, and I'm sorry to say it, they demolished the church, put a new church together, and then pick a senator from that church, from that group to be the 13th senator. And he turned out, what was the fellow's name? And he turned out to be just another part of it, that the whole
Right.
Ashley Rockman was the
Yeah.
guy's name. So I see the and we need to look at the whole structure of governance that we have in place, because the Senate, I think, is unnecessary. We don't need a Senate. All they did are rehash the things. They send it back to the House and pass anyway. So
Mm-hmm.
there's nothing they can do. They're sitting there. They want plush
That was
appointment for political cronies
Yep.
to enjoy things, and nothing comes from it. So I think it's about time to abolish that. The next thing is the Governor General, the GG.
Mm-hmm.
Now, take for instance with the 13th Amendment and the state of emergency in particular. That goes to the EAG for signature, the GG for signature. But the GG does not necessarily even look at it. She just signs.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like the GG should have the kind of teeth and cojones, if you will, to be able to say wait a minute, is it really necessary to do this at this time? Being as draconian as it is, as oppressive as it will seem to be, and how unfair to, to certain parts of our society, in particular the lower level, the lower tier of resources as such, poor people,
Sure.
poor people, south side, for instance, you know. So the, the other part of that though is that the fact there's a lot of crime that comes out of there, and most of the sensational crimes comes out of those areas. But you then made a very good point. The guns.
Hmm.
What about the guns? How are we going to stop the flow of guns? Because we don't make guns in Belize. The guns that they're using are no makeshift things that somebody hammer out in our garage. These
High
are
powered rifles.
high powered rifles, but they come in. What what are we going to do? Quo vadis, Belize? Where do we go from here? Um, Now you're putting yourself up for public office. Are you convinced that once you get in there, you'll be able to make a difference? You'll be able to make some waves at least, and push some of your colleagues to a better system of governance as such, more
I,
less corrupt?
I do believe that. I believe that I do have the ability to inspire. I have done this on a one-on-one basis many times. I have taken on groups of people and changed changed a lot about them. There's this young person. I'll use this example that had a job with me once, and he couldn't cut it for the job, and I was doing contract work at that point, and so he ended up quitting the job. But um, young, drink a lot, party a lot, never serious about anything. But I saw potential in the kid, and so after I found out that he quit, I gave him a call and I said, "Hey, come work for me." Um, After a few months of this one person um, not being ideal, he started to come around and he started to change. And today, that person is a pastor with a wife and two kids, and doing pretty much the same. Now, that's one example. Uh, I look at my I look at my nephews, for example, my brother's kids, who is no longer with us, and they come to me. They look up to me for guidance for everything. And yes, that's a family setting, but that's just an example. People naturally look at me as someone that they can count on, someone that whether or not I could do something, um, I know someone that can help. So if I can't do it, I could put someone in touch or a community in touch with a group of people that can mobilize, organize, and like I said, unite.
And you give it an effort.
Yes.
Yeah. What um, programs do you think you would like to see implemented for young people? Because again, the next generation is where the problem lies. I think if they don't grow up with some kind of ambition of wanting better for this place, we're going to be in trouble. Because I see a lot of them now, they don't really care. There's no passion in them. That flame is dim,
God.
almost dying. What are some of the programs you think we could put in place?
You know, was it today or yesterday that the Minister of Sports said that we have to take the thing and blow it up and start again?
Hmm.
I I, I know this not popular, but I agree.
Well, listen, are we going to get to the point where we can agree to disagree or disagree to agree, because if just because it's another political party, and I don't and I feel that this is a problem we faced for a long time, where opposition means opposing everything and anything, and always putting down whatever, whether it serves a good purpose or not, that the other side is doing. Can we ever get to that point?
We have to. We are too small not to. And that's why I said completely. I agree with what the minister said about we have to restart it because it has not been working. He used the example of losing to Costa Rica 13-1,
Hmm.
and that's a fact. Why is it that Belize volleyball they do what Belize volleyball they do, and the other sports? Yes, we have some um, success with football and basketball, but it's not consistent. So I believe that program sports development, we have to invest in sports. And another thing, not only sports, because that only a feed you so long, but we have to recognize when a youth is not necessarily your everyday school material, and that the book might not be the way to educate that individual student, but a trade might be a better option. And we have to be more open to that from a young age, not when you're older and you don't probably get a couple of incidents and then you try reform. We have to cut that before you hit that reform stage. And I think by injecting more of the technical in a younger developmental stage of education, we could help a lot.
I don't know though if we don't have to maybe place some responsibility on the parents also, because they need to be guiding these children towards these programs. So you can build all the programs you want, but if you don't have anybody participating, then you're having a problem. You see, if you if the parents don't make sure that their children attend that practice, we have a problem. So I'm thinking maybe what needs to be done is we have programs in the schools that is a part of the whole educational process.
Right.
And I believe sports is a part of that, and civics. Arthur, you spoke of civics earlier, where the kids are taught about governance, what's that the right governance and whatnot, and we start grooming them. And if we see any potential leaders, we develop that. We push the kids in that direction, and hopefully we do get some better politicians in the future.
Yeah. I have said the civics. Of course, everything I mentioned about sports and whatnot, we have to take into the school system. And I think I touched on this the last time we had a sit down and a chat, where I believe that the teachers will have to play a more of a guidance counselor type role, because we cannot control what is happening in homes. But what we can do, because most of the teachers, most of the educational programs in Belize, educational institutions in Belize, come from government funds.
Hmm.
So, and then I mentioned you have some teachers that Monday to Friday, then teach, and then Friday night to Sunday.
Party.
Yeah, you wouldn't want, and of course, again, that's not all, that's some. But we have some gray lines that tend to get crossed, where you might have teachers and students to party. You can't have that. So we have to put it a little bit more on the shoulders of teachers, even though they already do a lot, and and then hopefully the programs in the school with the right teacher setting can then start to change. It not be an overnight thing. It not be what quick 5 year fix. It'll take time, because we have certain behaviors, certain um, mentalities already ingrained within us. So we have to, what we're going to try to do is change all of that by putting in these programs and whatnot. And it take time. Yeah, even take time for people to get behind it. But it's the necessary route to go.
It might take a whole generation,
Yeah.
and we have to raise a new generation with these principles in mind. No,
Right.
um, I think a big part of it also, though, is, and you touched on it, is that we have to get teachers who are cut out to be teachers. Many times we have teachers playing the role, but their heart is not in it. They wouldn't care less about the picnic. They just want a day go by. I go home, take care of my bill. I got my own life to deal with. The teachers have to be very unselfish.
Yeah.
And a special breed of people. I can remember a few teachers that I can remember from way back, that had an impact because they expressed that concern. You felt that they really cared whether you learned or not. You can't just push children up. In fact, I see that nowadays that some of these kids are getting pushed up and they can't read.
Mhm.
They can't add. Uh, um, I had some a guy asked me the other day. He's in second form, Aaron, for 25 cents. So I said, well, how much 25 cents in a dollar? He couldn't answer me. He was thinking a man came up with 57. I'm saying, you're serious? And you, what school you go, boy? Because I need to see your teacher. So I don't know how we're going to solve this problem because education is not doing what it's not getting maximum buck from for value for money. Then we're not, and we're spending a lot of money on it. Because when you see the budget, there is money put into education. Is it reaching the programs that it ought to do? And that's the question.
And that's why I come way back to Uncut tonight.
No, and I've heard UNCAC as almost a panacea, a, a magic bullet, if you will. Is it? Can it be? Will it be that though? Will UNCAC? We signed UNCAC. We've already signed it.
Yeah.
It's signed already. So we have to implement it. But it means now bringing people from abroad to oversee the whole show. That our next money though. And I believe we'll have to foot that bill.
Yeah.
Are we in a position to do it? Are we gonna be able um, to be confident that those we bring in will themselves be of the necessary integrity to get this job done?
Well, isn't there a pool within the UN that we select from
As far as the people that you
that
mean,
oversees the implementation and whatnot?
that's something that we have to look at more. Uh, um, and I don't want to go on a limb answering questions like that without having the full facts. I don't know who would come in.
Right.
Would the UN select these people, or would we select from a pool that the UN has? I don't know the answer to that question, and it is food for thought. I have not thought about that. But somehow it has to be somebody from outside
Yeah.
because you can't expect us to police ourselves. We have proven that can't work. So we're too there's too much connections between us. The bias gonna be there. The opportunity for corruption again with nobody to oversee that.
Hmm.
But again, we have to look at how realistic it is and how possibly it is to happen. We're going through the UN, and to be honest with you, the UN has itself lost some degree of confidence in the way it has been handling, in particular, the Palestinian issue. No,
Right.
so that again we have to look at, and they want grim view of the world, Iran, but it is not what it ought to be or can be.
Not at
Um,
all.
so we have to change ourselves first, of course. Believes that what we have to concentrate on. Let's try to change us, but then after that, we face the bigger problem of changing the world. Because I don't know I don't know how that will be accomplished. Though you have your Singapores, you have a bunch of other countries that have not been doing too badly when it comes to putting in place the proper infrastructure to ensure that things are done well, at least close to how they ought to be. But I don't know if perfection is a reasonable goal, but certainly a valiant effort would be something that we want to look at. No.
The overall frustration in me, G Mike, is I strongly believe we are so much better than what we are accepting right now as a people. And to continue to just be okay with mediocrity is not okay. And I believe that that's the sentiment from a lot of people here at home because of the frustrations that they have with both political parties. And we, as politicians, as people in the public, period, have to play a bigger role at trying to show the majority of the people of Belize that we are trustworthy. We do see and hear you, and we want to make that change. The one thing that we continue to see in politics are the same families, the same names, and I think I've mentioned this before when Honorable Koi was on, and we have to break away from that cycle. But right now, those names, those families, they have a power hold on the entire country. Um, I listen to many radio shows. I usually get stuck on Crim at the end of the morning, but I listen to so many people call in with different complaints on different shows, and the majority of it, and this stuff for decades, comes back to corruption. It could all come down to some level of corruption. You talk about people that lose their land, people frustrated with this department and that department can't get this done or that done. Everybody want to leave more data to get something done, and we allow it. We we overlook it way too much. Even flying into PGIA or the cross border, you could give somebody a couple dollars and you go and clear with whatever you got.
Hmm. The way of the world, kid, it's a tough reality. You spoke about the talk show,
Hmm.
and we have I find love being a lot more commercial. And you spoke of Creme, and this is a plug for Creme. I think that the one that's more open to hearing from the people,
Yeah,
and dealing with the tough issues of the day. Um, I must tell you that I think Noor is a bit long-winded. I find that Moors takes a little while to make a point, but at the end of the day, I think they are ahead of the pack when it comes to providing the service that should be provided for with forums like those, which again is what's replacing maybe the face-to-face consultations that we used to have now with officials, because many times they do have public officials on, but are they grilling them to
right.
to 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 to, to get the best that they can from them and the true sentiments that they're feeling, no? Or are they just the pet and powder there, and they get an opportunity for spout the whatever propaganda they have in mind? I don't know, but honestly, I think in fact now you notice even the TV stations are having their own talk shows in the morning. Um, but when it comes to the call in and the interaction with the public, I think Krem is ahead of the pack,
Yeah,
and,
definitely.
and doing well. Yeah. Um, are you are you now, Aaron, gonna be hitting the ground? Are we gonna hear more from Aaron? Are you gonna be calling the stations? What's the plan as far as moving forward for you?
I get my updated voters list tomorrow morning. Um, and I am going to go through that voters list and try to get in touch with people that I know are not definitely going to support me.
The ones who are not gonna support you.
Right.
Okay. You're
Because
uh,
I want I want to hear what they would want, what their thoughts are. Because if you continually surround yourself by supporters, you blind. And so if I know I have this core of supporters, I know that they already believe in what I have to say. It's the voice of the others that become more important at that time so that you can bring that unity that we are trying to bring back to this party locally and then hopefully nationally.
you said that you might be the one that was most surprised by you entering the field because many people thought it was a foregone conclusion from the very beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Um, did you give thought to the fact that there is going to be a lot of work, that a lot of time on the ground, um, facing criticism, disappointments, um, unfair criticisms at time, I'm sure, because people will go to the point of lying on you if they
Mm-hmm.
have to try to discredit you.
We've
Uh,
heard that before.
have you looked at this, Aaron, and said, "Boy, I believe I could do this. Make I go." Is
You,
that
in 2015, when there was a by-election in Dangriga constituency, I decided to completely re-engage because I did not like how the tongue looked. I remember going to my brother's funeral and having to clear out public land just so that we could use park in front of the church, get bush hog and whatnot to clean it out because that's how it looked. And then I made a post about it on Facebook and people get vexed. People get vexed because they say, "Oh, you gonna states and now you think you better than we." I don't think I better than we. I think that the belief Dangriga where I grew up in a 80s and 90s and early 2000s, me look better than Dangriga today. And
so?
that's our problem.
So you think, as opposed to growing, they've gone forward, they've gone backwards a bit. Is that it?
Right. Yeah. I'm afraid to say it. I believe it strongly. While we have certain sectors of the community growing, majority of the community isn't. And so we have to then bring equality. And when I say equality, I mean community equality. I just want to say that. I believe that everybody should everybody does have opportunity, but do we have opportunity that's right for everybody? That are two different things. And so back in 2015 with this by-election, I decided I in a position where I could really start to inject some aid into Dangriga. Make I start. And so every year I used to do back to school drive and G Mike it got huge. One year, the biggest year I had donated um, throughout the country, I believe is over 650 fully loaded school bags. But
Mm.
in Dangriga constituency itself, I mean 350. That in a community like that makes a huge impact. I've done scholarships, I have paid school fees, I have helped food distribution, things like that. And the more I did, the more I felt satisfied. And my gratification, my happiness started to be surrounded by that. And when I look at the current state of my beloved United Democratic Party, I thought about not only how much I have given personally to try to help to build Dangriga, but how much I have given to the party, how much I have given to certain individuals, and decided instead of choosing to support someone this time, I'm going to choose to support myself so that I can then be the voice that I think, based on consultations with people at the town halls and whatnot, like I mentioned earlier, that I don't have fear to voice their concerns, their opinions, because I know what I said last time. I know what oh nobody. I will do this from me for us.
How about the many $50 we have to? They
I'm
showed
not paying none. None.
you. I've heard politicians say then you lose because they figure you have to spend some money, buy some votes in order. There are people. Are they not too spoiled at this point, Aaron, where they look forward to it and feel like they deserve it?
I have to stand on my integrity. And if I go down because of that, okay, I will come back another day.
Wish you well. So, I'm thinking about it when you said they tell you you come back to think you're better, and but you seem to think that you came back thinking that they could be better than they are. Dangriga could be better than it is,
Yes,
and
because
and
I know a better than Riga.
there's a lot of room for improvement out there, no?
Hmm.
Yeah. You spoke of your father being not the ambassador because that was before independence, I believe. When it was
No, it was after. It was in the 90s.
they didn't have ambassadors then.
They had the relation with Guatemala and Belize. It was a charge d'affaires.
So then we've stepped up in that. Then if we've gone to ambassador now,
Right,
and the fact that they're accepted an ambassador might be a step in the right direction.
right.
So we've had they released the list of the ambassadors, the new ambassadors today. Any surprises? Any one that you thought?
I took note of one. Hold on, I could get to that. Give me a quick second, G Mike. Catherine Megan
Okay,
went to the Republic of China.
Republic
Um,
of China in Taiwan,
yep,
and she replaced then
and it's
Candice.
Pitts.
Yeah.
What's going to happen to Candice Pitts?
Well, I have my issue with Candy Spitz, and let me share it because there's a little park I'm trying to develop on George Street, no less. And you know George Street, you've heard the name, you've heard the George Street and Rocky Road, which is the heart of that impoverished community and problem community.
Right,
They need a little space. There are kids that are there. You wouldn't be imagine the amount of kids that are, I go out there and they just bum rush, you know. But there's a friend of mine that has been living in an area of free by Cinderella Town, and there's a lot that's been vacant for years. It was one of the Chinese people. You know when they thought Taiwan was gonna revert to China. A lot of, or no, when Hong Kong was
yeah,
gonna,
no problem.
um, and there were a lot of the Chinese that thought they were gonna lose their money and it was gonna go strictly communist as opposed to being a capitalist society that it
Right,
was. And they bought a lot of property, I believe. Some of them gone to states, some gone back to China when they realized it wasn't going to be as rough as they thought it would. So this individual apparently bought this piece of land and left it there. And this friend of mine had been following it up for a while. Candice was in city council, so she got wind of this apparently. So I went in and have the person that owns the lot on George Street. It was like he's saying, "Well, I want to come back like tomorrow and start building somewhere, but I don't want that piece of land there because the neighborhood, of course, as you know, is rough. and I met the minister. I went to a couple of people. Can we maybe switch this piece of land, turn this into a park, make this next piece of land that is here vacant, with no owner, make this available to him. He'll pay whatever difference there has to pay for that. And I was told, boy, we save that for Candice, no? So I guess she come back now, and that deal will be dead. But I think it's ridiculous because something like this, I mean, you could get she some on piece somewhere else, man. You already rewarded her with her ambassadorship, in in Taiwan for a couple of years there, where she, you know, had a good go, a good run. I think they should consider something like that, man, because we need more parks, more than we need for privileged people to get taken care of.
Right.
You see,
Exactly.
that's the point I'm making here. So I don't know what's going to happen eventually. I'm still hopeful that cooler heads will prevail. They will see the wisdom in this, and look at it. I don't know. I'm not holding much hope, in particular since she's not home now.
Yeah.
I imagine she's gonna want it, no? Again though, I think that our political parties have been too generous to their cronies
Yep.
and supporters at the expense of the Belizean people, and people are seeing it. Do you think UNCA could maybe help in that? Would they be making a difference in something like that?
I think that it could. You know, one of the things that I always took note of is um, the accusations that I've gotten for my loyalty to support the United Democratic Party, no matter who's running. Um, and I could proudly say, I know, I don't really owe nothing. I have not gotten anything from UDP. I have not gotten anything from PUP. People could go check land records and whatnot here, and honestly, no one, nothing.
So you would have no problem with that kind of scrutiny.
None.
Uh,
And so I believe that
do you regret that? Do you say maybe sometimes you should have gotten more than you got, that you must have take advantage of
no,
situations that you
not at
didn't?
all, because I believe that I did it for truly believing that the way the views that I was aligned with were the better pathways for my local community and the country on a whole. It know how it work out so, but um, that why we have elections, and then the people have their opportunity to speak, and that why I am dead serious. I know they pay for a single vote, and if I lose because of that, I okay with it, because I could come out and say this that the change I want, and I have to be the change what I the fight for. I can't just say one thing and then in the background they do something else, because that's what everybody do.
Yeah. So, but yeah, saying that, and you know Dangriga as you do, I know Belize. I know Belizeans in Belize, Belize City. No going for that. They don't want to think like that. Knowing Dangriga as you do, are you convinced that there will be enough people there with the kind of integrity that will walk away from that $50, or support Aaron, based on the fact that he's a better candidate as opposed to the one who will pay them that money?
I am hoping that I could I could galvanize the electorate just by showing them the potential, the possibilities that exist with the right leadership and the right support system. So I'm going to build on that. That's where my hope is going to be. That with the people I have on my team, and I hate saying my team because it's a team, it's our team. Um, I that's the message I want to push. I want to push a message of we always talk about change, Well, we have to start to change from that point. The minute you sell your vote, you you can't complain about corruption because that is foundation of a corrupt society.
Of course, there are people who will say, Aaron, you're expecting a victory of hope over experience
Mhm,
because experience shows you one thing.
mhm.
What you're hoping for is noble, certainly something to aspire for. But the experience of the voting system in Belize is that people got their hand out, and if they pan or get butter, they're not interested because they're not worried about down the line that Aaron and be a better candidate for Dangriga. They're not worried that we'll get more because the community will thrive. The personal thing, and that I guess where you have to work on most men is convincing people that what you got for offer as a candidate is more than the couple of dollars where they will get on election day,
Right,
because that will last you how long?
they did.
You know, is it? Do you think that? And there are some people, Aaron, who have suggested that universal suffrage was not necessarily such a good thing because you have a crackhead take $50 and go vote, and you got one businessman go to vote based upon wanting better, but one cancel out the other. It's the same. I mean, they carry the same weight regardless of the status that each have in society. I know that as in jail, you can't vote if you're in a jail, right? Um, might there might it be time for some restriction on voting and who can vote? I'm not saying going back to the time when only people of property could vote, but certainly we might have people of integrity that show some kind of inclination and ambitious move. And any thoughts on that?
Yes, very clear thought on that. We cannot, under any circumstance, take away the fundamental right of the citizens of a nation, of a town, of a district to voice their opinion. What I would counter that with is holding our elections and boundaries department accountable. Everybody know, as you said, that election day they want got cash house somewhere, they got this somewhere, what car, what they hand out money. It's about time that that which is illegal in our country is actually tried.
Can they crack down on that though? Really, you think if they tried hard enough, they
Well, supposedly elections and boundaries that were independent body. So if they are, and
well supposedly, but appointed by who? Appointed by who here? And let's be real, man. You know,
um,
um,
and
what
that's how
was what? Let, let, let me put you on the spot. Was Alberto Agas an independent election boundaries commissioner?
he was appointed right by the UDP. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
and he was not only he was a UDP through and through.
yeah.
Uh, so I think maybe they ought to give a little more thought to who will be appointed to such a position. I remember when Paul Rodriguez was appointed as ombudsman and did a noble job. He gave it a valiant effort. But after that, we haven't even heard of ombudsman again. So I think that was the last choice that was made, a reasonable choice for positions like that. Apart from that, it's been all political cronyism.
Right. You
Um,
know how you fix elections and boundaries? I think
mm,
you have one representative on both sides. Make them
okay,
happy vote.
okay. Regardless of who's in office.
Right.
Yeah. How about the situation with 60 people at one address. That should be an easy one to fix.
Exactly. That's exactly my point. Elections and boundaries should. I mean, you challenge that in. It shouldn't even have to reach a court of law. Elections and boundaries should be able to do their investigation so easily.
Has it ever gone to a court of law, and has any changes ever been made?
The hundred and something from Kyle last elections, didn't that get to court and was overturned? Or
I
those voters were rejected?
I don't recall. Based upon the address that they had.
One address, yeah.
Yeah.
If I
Well,
remember right, UDP challenged one specific address and it ended up in court and it got that it turned out that they had to they couldn't vote basically.
interesting. No, I don't recall. That I have to look that up. I definitely have to go back and get that. But that it would be a start.
Yeah,
That is something that has to, because it happens every election. How about candidates living in the divisions that they're running for? Because it happens a lot now.
yeah,
If you, Aaron Anderson, were elected to represent Dangriga, would you be willing to abandon your practice in the States, as lucrative as it is, and dedicate all your time and effort to better Dangriga?
of course. I already spent so much time here in Riga that it's it's kind of it's kind of crazy. Um, it takes its toll. There are times where I have to not take certain contracts because I have my limit and I know where to be so that I could balance the two. Um, but if I don't continue to do the work I do out in the US, that would limit what I can do locally financially. And I prefer to try to balance the two because actually helping out locally actually satisfying to me. And so I, while trying to set something up locally, continue to take those contracts.
Um, Boy, I'm listening to you, and I'm saying I would hope that Dangriga would give you an opportunity to see if you can come through like you say you are. At least try something else. Um, I the only thing that I'm looking at, the block that's there for me, is that they know it seems like our voters don't want to put the best person for the job in the job. They always other factors that they will uh, base their vote upon, but it certainly will not be integrity and the promise, the potential for better coming from people like you. I would hope, Aaron, that you would indeed get a chance. No,
Thank you.
so
I have to say that some of the pledges that I have already are people who I used to campaign to in 2015 and beyond that would say I never ever support UDP. I would never do this with UDP, never unless you run. And the minute my candidacy was announced, they these a lot of those people.
you get calls, and you get people saying, "Well, thank you, Aaron. You think
I
you're doing the
know.
right thing."
Yep, and a couple of them are on the team. And for protect their name for now, I will left it so. But people that are you would say lean more pro PUP are on board, and to me that's encouraging because I hope that the message that I want to convey can be delivered to that demographic through some of those people.
Let me put in a plug for another Dangrigan. You know, brother David.
Yeah, of course.
All right. Is he PUP or UDP?
I am not sure.
You
I
think
know that back in the early days of Brother David and his music, he and my father worked a lot together.
okay, so they were close.
Yeah.
So he might remember that and decide, let me give you a run my vote. Anyway, you could give him your support. He's gonna be at the Bliss Institute next Friday, I believe. Doing a and the man well up in age, but looking well, boy,
Yeah.
and moving well. I wish I could still move like him, but he and I knew Brother David from Los Angeles actually. He had a little band he called in Scorpio's Journey, because he and the three guys in there were all Scorpios, and they were playing
Wow.
some nice music. One was Emmanuel Good, very good drummer. I haven't heard from him in a while, and a couple of times Trappy Harrison Trapp used to come in and sing. But Brother David, they were excellent musician. Why a patriotic Belizean.
Yeah.
He's one of those who love Belize to the point where he has dedicated his whole life to returning back to Belize and making Belize better. No,
Yeah.
so hopefully, if you get a chance, you could drop in and see him there. We're running out of time, close to the end. What are some of the things that you would want people to think of when they start to decide who they will vote for or what they're going for? Is there anything that you don't want to specifically look at and say, boy, for this reason, I don't want to vote for Iran above everybody else?
I think that I understand the duties and the job ahead for the caretaker. I have heard um, other campaigns talking about the caretaker is the next runner up for standard bearer, and that comes naturally, and that perception that is being spewed is completely off. The caretaker, the main role in today's caretaker position would be reuniting the party. We have to bridge all those gaps that were broken. I have heard people saying that I am, because of me and what I have done in the past and who I have supported, I am that person. I am a replica of that person, and I am not. I am me. I am Aaron Anderson from 2 Queelings Alley and 15 Mahogany Street, Dangriga. Um, the alley carries my family name. I don't know no other home but Dangriga. You know that when people ask me where's home, home the Dangriga, and I that's another thing I'm going to campaign heavy on is educating people of the role of the caretaker. We have to build a party that can actually represent the people.
So
Not
the put
mhm.
go ahead, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
So to build back the party locally, I am building a team that believes the same things that I do. Very people with integrity, people that definitely has a level of respect. And when we all come out, the people of Dangriga will see the people on the team working along with me to try to make this happen. And they will definitely take note of the status that they have. And when I say status, I don't mean necessarily financially. I mean they are known for integrity, for compassion, for understanding, for being outstanding citizens, never getting in trouble, no kind of scandal. And that's the people I am surrounding myself with, because that's the way we want to teach people to be. Try to be a purpose driven person.
Mhm.
And that's the kind of people that I am working with. And when you have to rebuild something that has been dismantled the way our party has, you have to have people that are purpose driven. And the purpose for everybody on the team is to bring Dangriga to the level that it can be. We looked at as a quick slogan, level up, because we see a potential in Dangriga that we want everyone else to see, and we have to give them that vision and have them believe in it so that we can build towards it together.
So the position that you're running for currently now,
Hmm.
that you have signed on for, is the caretaker
Yes.
and not necessarily standard bearer yet.
No.
And it doesn't necessarily follow that the caretaker becomes the standard bearer.
No, not at all. Because honestly, this is a 2 year position. Um, so chances are we won't have an election in 2 years, a general election in 2 years. So there's
You,
no way.
you'd have to run again for
Yes.
that position next time, yeah.
Yes.
And but you believe that the caretaker itself in that position has enough work to do, um,
Oh
that
yes.
could make a difference in the community.
Oh yes. And I'll take this for example. G Mike, I came um, from a family structure that was solid. We never always had everything, despite what people might think. But when I went to the US, I had an 11-month-old baby, no place to go, and at that time a girlfriend. And one of we had papers, the other one didn't. And in that experience, from that moment, I have been growing. I have been surviving. I have been making decisions to move in the right way at every step of the way because one, I wanted my son at that point to have a person like I did in my father to look up to. And I have a 27-year-old son today that is absolutely successful, and he could tell you how he got there. I'll let him tell that story one day. But try to that go that one next man country with no place to go, nothing to do, and you go a picnic strap by your hand. And make I say how much people could survive that. It takes a mentality, a drive, a purpose. And I believe that I still have that same thought process, that same energy that made me survive and become successful there to teach and give into Dangriga. And that's what I want to do.
So you're a family man. You're married.
Yes, sir.
All right. Is your family supportive of the move that you're making? Did you discuss this with them, and did you get their blessing and say, "Well, go for it, Aaron. We there with you on this."
Everybody is fully on board.
Wonderful. And you look forward to the experience of, well, at first caretaker, but I'm sure down the road you have visions of maybe leading Dangriga as its representative. Correct?
Definitely.
Wonderful.
And
And
then maybe even nationally after that.
and I hear you. And you're pretty sure that the UDP will bounce back.
Yes, definitely.
All right, as good as it was before, better hopefully.
It has to be better.
It'll be
We
it'll be
can't
as
go back.
strong
We have
because
to
it was
get
it was
better.
strong. It was strong.
Yep.
But strong, but not as good as it could have been. And you've from the experiences that you've learned and seen along the way, you pretty much have a wish list, if you will, or a plan that you would like to put into effect to make sure that these things happen that you're hoping for.
I do. I definitely want to engage in the community more, um, bring more awareness to what programs already exist, see how I can work with schools and different organizations, all kinds of organizations that are already trying to improve the day to day living standards of the town and just get more involved in that. I have reached out to many people, not today, but over the course of time, and have always offered help. And I just want to continue bringing visibility to these programs to people that might not necessarily know they are there or how to get involved in those programs. And so education will be a big part.
I saw a gentleman ranting on Facebook. Why he went off using some crazy words, and he was suggesting that all Dangrigans want to do now is shake their rump and believe that music is everything. I believe you might have seen that video.
Yep.
Any thoughts on that? Is that how you see it, and what role do you see music playing, or sports even, in the development of Dangriga?
G Mike, the beat of the drum that it heartbeat at Angriga.
Indeed.
And we have to use that heartbeat to pardon the fun, to drum up the spirit, drum up the hope, drum up the inspiration that we can be better, we should be better, and we have to expect better from us and then from those who we put in place to lead, rather than feeling defeated all the time, being discouraged, don't want to get involved, because what difference can you make? We have to show that we can make a difference. We can stand up together and make that difference, make that change. Like Mahatma Gandhi said, you have to be the change you want.
Let's be that change. Aaron, it's been a pleasure talking to you. We have to part 3 of this at some point as we get closer to your, or maybe when you do that victory lap, right? Remember us and give us a holler and make we deal with that. Thank you very much.
Thank you again, G Mike.
Yeah, man. We're going to be in Esperanza this coming weekend, the Charlie Burton boys. I want to remind them, put out a lead thing to try to get some assistance, but like you, and there comes a time when if I have to do it myself, I will do it myself, because I figure that what's being done on my part is not political, but certainly is a part of what will be needed to make Belize better by grooming these children to be good adults, to at least be there to give them a lead guidance and lead push if we can. No, we have to do that. We have to develop more parks throughout the country, that these kids have a place to play and develop camaraderie, as long as they're together and not fighting one another. And even when they come together and my golly fight and whatnot, but sometimes they just wind up being the best of friends because they get familiar with one another, right? See what? Thank you, Aaron. I'll see you. And folks, next week, same time, same place, right here on Sea Smoke. Read between the lines.
Put me a message.
All right. See why we're done here.
Jim out the jewel. I'll have your trainer throwing in the tower. Lineage, Masonic, without the thrower. I'm highly decorated like the Joint Chief of Staff. Oh well. Jim out the jewel. I'll have your trainer throwing in the tower. Lineage, Masonic, without the thrower. I'm highly decorated like the Joint Chief of Staff. Oh well. Don't get caught up in the distraction. It's just an illusion. Fraction of the extended destruction. Like Brunson at the garden. Temporary reprieve from your problems. Mental colonization. You know, they shiesty when they weaponize religion. War infraction. Nations against nations. The Jews against the Palestinians. Russians against the Ukrainians. China, Japan, India, Pakistan, Dominicans, Asians, Guatemaltecans, Belizeans. The elite is all about wealth distribution, world domination. I'm bringing bars with heat like beats from honor domination. Final conclusion, nuclear intervention. While in the hood, guns and sirens still blazing. Mothers in agony, screaming. YNs seeking instant gratification like Kelly streaming. Gem out the jewel. I'll have your trainer throwing in the tower. Lineage, Masonic, without the thrower. I'm highly decorated like the Joint Chief of Staff. Oh well. Gem out the jewel. I'll have your trainer throwing in the tower. Lineage, Masonic, without the thrower. I'm highly decorated like the Joint Chief of Staff. Oh well. Paris, topics of the day. Imports, exports, ships idle on the dock of the bay. Monopoly, Wall Street, financial experts. But the consumers is the one that has to pay.
systematic design.